stranger.
Hey.
Man. You know, this is like, this feeling of being back in the studio with you is like, it's like when you see, you're like in third grade and you see your teacher in the supermarket and you're like, oh, like that's like, they have lives. Like, you know, like people probably think that like, we're just stuck recording and we're not. We have lives.
We do have lives.
We decided to live it for a while.
We tend to do that where we just disappear for like 3 months at a time and then come back whenever without warning.
Yeah. You're unprepared and so are we. No,
yeah.
Just kidding. But hello, welcome back to another episode of another picture show podcast. I almost forgot the name.
I know, it's been a while. It's been a while.
Who am I? I am Madalyne.
I'm Olivia.
And we are just a pair of beautiful hot messes trying to make this work in the swirling, chaotic dumpster fire called life.
I've missed you.
I've missed you. I've missed seeing you on my screen and yelling into a microphone that I have to plug in with a USB adapter. So
yes, I've missed getting angry over movies that really don't matter at all.
Exactly. I've been getting angry over many other things instead.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's good to be back and I'm excited. And I feel like we are both very unprepared for this episode, but we're going to do it anyway because
it might make it more fun. If anything, we'll have like more wild things to say.
Oh, true. Very true. But this is a highly anticipated episode. I've wanted to do this one for a while. I think since we initially came up with the idea for the podcast, because honestly,
really?
I mean, the podcast is named after this movie in part. So it's a very special movie for the two of us. Oh, by the way, we're not doing an intro like we normally do. We're just getting into a movie because we didn't plan this out. We kind of just said
we didn't do an intro. We just both watched the movie together. And then we were like, well, a shadow casting really. And we were like, yeah, let's do it. And then we were like, yes. And now we're here.
Exactly. So usually for those who are new here, usually Madalyne has not seen the movie and I have seen the movie and I tell her what we're going to watch. We take a little break to go watch the movie and then come back. And then I let Madalyne tell me all of her thoughts on the movie. But this time around, we've both seen the movie. We both love this movie. It's the reason that we have this podcast. And
I literally have a tattoo dedicated to this movie.
Yes. So this week we're going to be talking about Rocky Horror Picture Show, or the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yes. Fucking love Rocky Horror.
And up until a few weeks ago, I was a Rocky Horror virgin, like live show virgin. But I gotta be honest about our adventure to see Rocky Horror Shadowcast. Oh no. Okay.
In Baltimore. So we saw it together. Mm-hmm. We got tickets. We saw it with your sister, our friend Katie, Ryan, and Katie's significant other, Derek, and me being the fifth wheel, the fifth and shiniest wheel. Not the spare tire.
You were in the middle, front and center. So
I really was. I had a great time. I was in a little sandwich. Anyway, so I was the fill to the sandwich. So we buy tickets. It was more of a strip along than it was a shadow casting. And I say this as like, I'm a purist in like every respect. Like there are so many things, as you know.
Listen to this podcast and you haven't figured out that Madalyne's a purist of most things. Then
of most things. I very rarely budge to like the creative process. Artistic license does not exist when you're messing with my favorites.
Yeah, no artistic interpretation when you're dealing with Madalyne.
Not 0%. So anyway, when I was in college, we're like all over the map. I love it.
It's fine.
This is chaotic. When I was in college, I was part of like a troupe that did Rocky Horror shadow casting. The way Rocky Horror shadow castings typically go is they have like people dressed up as all of the characters and they literally do the movie with like props and like silly shit and like callbacks and stuff while the movie's playing in the background. This situation that we went to was a strip along, sort of, where situation. It was very fun. Like, it was, but I wish they had advertised it like that, and I still would have been like super excited to go, because when I showed up, and you know, the first act is always a strip, because it's Trixie, it's the lip singing, and it's a stripper. I used to be Trixie in the troupe that I did Rocky Horror with. I stripped for free, which is, you know, it is what it is. I should have been paid. But then they continued stripping, and I was confused, and I was like, but then the more we went into it, I was like, okay, so this is just a strip along, because they didn't do the acting behind it. They literally just, every song had somebody come out and strip the whole time. It
wasn't even like every song. It was like every other song, kind of. It was
like the big hits, like the big songs. Like, it was Rocky Horror, or not Rocky Horror, Double Feature, which is the first song. And then I would say every other song, like all the big hits, they would strip to, basically.
Yeah. I mean,
and then they did the Time Warp fully clothed, and I was like, okay. And then they continued stripping. So if I'm going to be honest, you guys did not actually like pop your cherry, so to speak. And you have to, the next time you go to a shadow casting, you have to participate in the Virgin game. That is just my opinion.
So we kind of did like the loophole sex kind of thing.
Yeah.
With our, okay. All right.
Yeah.
So it just means we have to go see another one sometime. That's fine with me.
The horror.
Yeah. I'm totally fine with that.
How inconvenient. How inconvenient for you.
But yeah, so we went to see that together, and it inspired us to record this, because it's been a while, and
ignite the fire.
The movie we both love, and I think it means a lot to both of us. So Madalyne, do you have any basic info on Rocky Horror before we get into it?
I do. So Rocky Horror was a 1975 film based on the Rocky Horror Show, which was a musical production that started in the West End in London in 1973, and it was written by Richard O'Brien, who plays Riff Raff. And it stars like Tim Curry, Patricia Quinn, that one guy that's in everything, Susan Sarandon. I'm trying to look up the stats, but I kind of refuse to at this point. I'm just going off the cuff.
That's fine.
Basically, it's supposed to be like a musical production, kind of like poking fun at like B movies, like B horror films, and like tropes from like the 1920s and 30s, like that were popular in like the cheesy horror film, or not 20s, like 30s, 40s, 50s. And it's about this couple. They're newly engaged. They're off to see their science teacher, like their high school science teacher. That's the first person they decide to announce their engagement to, and they end up getting lost and getting stuck, and stumbling upon a castle where I'm going to call him androgynous, because some of the terminology is outdated and also mostly offensive. An androgynous alien named Frankenfurter, and he is celebrating with all of his like alien buddies the creation of his like basically his like boothang, Rocky, who's just like a zombie with abs. And all the shenanigans that go on, and it's about like sexual liberation, and you know, just doing whatever you want with your identity, and fuck the norm, and just, you know, be yourself. Don't dream it, be it. You know what I mean? Like that sort of thing. And it's just, it's a widely celebrated counterculture cult classic for a reason.
Yeah.
The end of my description of Rocky Horror.
It's good. Thanks
You're
for
welcome. Episode over. Goodbye.
Yeah, all right, goodbye. We both had seen this movie before. Do you remember the first time you ever saw Rocky Horror?
Yes. I was in like high school or college. Like I was like in my teens, mid to late teens. Because I watched it. I actually watched the movie and shortly after joined the cast because I was so involved. So the first time I saw it was like, yeah, I would say it was like my freshman year of college, because I didn't start until my sophomore year doing the show. And I loved it. I thought it was wonderful. I loved Tim Curry. I will always love Tim Curry. So when I figured out Tim Curry was in it, I was very excited. I just loved the music and the dancing. And at that point, that was a point in time where I wasn't sure if I wanted to go into theater or not. And thank God I did not go into theater, because I love all my actor friends out there, but I hate working with actors. So, because I've done it. My friend Denver and I actually went to the Rocky Horror shadow casting in my town, and we were virgins, so we had to do the whole virgin song and dance, and I thought it was so fun, and like the callbacks were so cute. And so I decided to do it, and I just love Rocky Horror. I watch it, like, I feel like I watch it more often than I should, but I do watch Rocky Horror quite a bit. What about you?
I think I watched it for the first time when I was in college. I think I was just like by myself at my mom's house, and I was just like, I should probably watch this.
Feels
right. Yeah, I'm like, it's time. I don't know. But I decided to watch it alone in my mom's house. And I don't know what I was expecting. Because like I knew at that point, I knew you had been in the shadow cast, but I hadn't seen it. I'd heard the music and I liked the music, and I had seen all the, clips of Tim Curry and stuff. And I was like, this seems like something I would really like, because I love Tim Curry and everything else. So I watched it, and it was very weird, but a good weird.
The more I feel like no matter how many times you watch it, you're like, this is fucking weird. You're just like, can't stop, won't stop. That's just Richard O'Brien, though. Like, he is a weird individual. I was actually reading an article about him prior to recording, and I thought, like, when I was reading the article, I thought he came out as trans, but then later on he's like, no, I'm a third gender, and I'm 70% man and 30% woman. And I was like, that is so Richard O'Brien.
Like, yes, sure, of course you are.
Like, yes.
Go Richard.
Exactly. Go Richard. You do your thing, boo boo. We love you anyway.
The little that I do know, because I think we both tried to do a tiny bit of preparation for this, but it's already a mess. So thank you for listening if you're listening. But this is going to be a shit show of an episode.
Rocky Horror shit show.
Yeah, I know that Richard O'Brien was like unemployed when he came up with the idea for Rocky Horror, and he grew up loving like B horror films and like the just cheesiness of kind of horror stuff that came out in the 30s, 40s, and 50s. And I think he wrote the script for the stage show, or I don't know how it works, like the book, the music, whatever, how it all came together. But he wrote, the concept of it and showed it to the guy who would later direct the movie, Jim Sharman, who's an Australian director. And I think they were working on something together at the time, and he showed him, and Jim Sharman was like, this is brilliant. And so they created the stage show. The stage show kind of started to gain popularity around London or wherever they were, and now we have a movie.
No, I do love like the references to, the B horror movies, like the tribute to them, because like obviously the opening song, which is double feature, is like talking about essentially all the movies that he took inspiration from for the story. Like he's talking about oh shit, what's it called?
The Day the Earth Stood Still.
Yeah.
King Kong, When Worlds Collide, The Invisible Man, a bunch of other ones that I don't have listed, but those are some of the references in the opening song.
And you see them again throughout like the actual movie, like the King Kong reference, the Worlds Collide reference, even kind of the Invisible Man a little bit, not so much, but it's definitely just all plays into like the feel of the movie as well, just like the wacky, like completely out of left field kind of vibe that he was going for was definitely like felt from start to finish. It's just like even the engagement scene, like it's just so weird. You're just watching it and I'm like what kind of fucking wedding is this? Like yeah, it's great.
I like how the movie is a tribute. It's a parody, but it's also kind of a tribute to all those horror movies, like B movies from that era. And so all those tropes from those like cheesy horror movies are there. like aliens and like doctor guy.
Damsel in distress.
Yeah, like an evil scientist,
Nazi scientist,
yeah,
though,
Nazi
which was
scientist. Like a Frankenstein's monster kind of story.
Like, I have so many thoughts about this movie, but it is hard to like get it all out. Like the thing that's coming to the forefront of my mind is kind of how it rode the coattails of like the sexual liberation movement of the 60s.
Yeah.
And how it's like continuing to ride, kind of like, I don't want to call this, I'm not one like educated enough to speak to this, nor am I a member of this community, but like I feel like it's always been like at the cornerstone of like the LGBTQ culture. It's definitely something that's always been there. But on the other side of the coin, it also has like outdated language that is, I don't want to call, I mean, is it controversial? I don't know, because it's like people acknowledge that the language exists and that it like the words they use and the callbacks like throughout time have gotten outdated and offensive and stuff like that, using offensive words. But like, yeah, like the concept of like being called a transvestite and that sort of stuff is outdated, but people still watch it and love it, despite I feel like those words are almost like not aggressive and like you want to get your ass beat, but it's just like it's a word you don't hear anymore. So when you hear somebody say it, you're just like you're like, whoa.
Yeah. I mean, I'm also not, I mean, like I'm queer, but I'm not like a part of the culture enough, or have been a part of the culture enough to know, the history of that word and like anything about it now, so I don't really know how to speak on how people feel about it now watching the movie.
Right.
I think it's interesting though, like you said, that it's still so beloved and those things are still part of the movie, and like people can see the movie as the cornerstone that it is, despite its, obvious flaws. Like there's a lot of things about the movie that are outdated and iffy, to say the least. Like there's a few sexual assault scenes and whatnot, but I think that the role that it has played in queer culture and kind of the movement of queer representation in film, like overall, is a lot bigger than those few like missteps in the movie itself, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and it's more like just those parts didn't age well, you know?
Yeah.
And it's funny. I mean, there's so many movies out there that people love that have not aged well. So many TV shows that have not aged well. And I mean, it's survived like the censorship. Because I mean, there are episodes of like television shows that have since been like cut out of the season on, Netflix or Hulu or whatever, because it had, blackface, or it had like a super, sexist scene in it or something like that. Like there have been like waves of like censorship because of things that haven't aged well. And it is surprising that Rocky Horror has survived, as the film itself, Rocky Horror Picture Show itself, has survived like the censorship waves.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of the reason it might have survived too is because looking back on it, it might not have aged well, but it's also was made by like queer people,
right?
Or people who were part of the community, and was not made in bad faith at all. And you can see that by how like you can just feel it,
That's true.
So I don't know why they would censor it.
Well, what's interesting is like, so when I did the shadow casting, what was censored, I will say, and again, neither here nor there, to be like, it's probably a good thing in the long run that this was censored, is the callbacks. So like when you do a shadow casting, there's throughout the history of the show, the reason that these like callbacks exist, like for those of you that don't know, it's like an additional like it's literally like an addendum to the script of the movie. So like something will happen and the audience, whoever's hosting the shadow casting will say the callback. It's like, it's just supposed to be funny, like little add-ons to the movie. So for example, whenever Brad and Janet introduce themselves, like everybody's supposed to call Brad an asshole and Janet a slut.
Mm-hmm.
And that dates back to, you know, after the film came out, and people would go weekly, this group would go weekly to New York to where it was being screened, and they would just like sit in the front row, this group of people sit in the front row and just like, you know, make these jokes throughout the film. And at some point it got like memorialized, and now it's by the power and beauty of, you know, word of mouth and subsequently the internet, people began to incorporate them into the shadow casting full time. And some vary slightly throughout like whatever, you know, place you're doing the shadow casting from, but a lot of them are very similar. And so a lot of the callbacks have been censored. For example, like I said, you call Brad an asshole, you call Janet a slut. When we were at the shadow casting, the host was saying, let's not slut shame and say yay slut when we see Janet, because she's proud of being a slut. And I don't disagree with that. However, I don't know, is it bad of me to be like a little peeved that was like censored? I just thought it was like, I don't know, I might be a little old fashioned here, but I was like, me being a purist,
Yeah.
I was like, okay, we're all adults.
Yeah.
Everyone here should be an adult watching this, first of all.
Yeah.
Secondly, we all should know not to slut shame somebody, you know? And I understand. And another callback, sorry, I got a little sidetrack again.
Mm-hmm.
Another callback was previously using the F slur when referring to Frankenfurter. And they said, do not say that. And I was like, you know what, that's fair. That one I was like, fair enough. I was like, yep, that's a good call. Good call all around, everybody.
But I'm a purist.
Yeah. Yeah. How could you imagine me being the only one screaming?
No.
I would get my ass handed to me by every queer person in that place.
I would have left you there.
That's all right. I would have understood. But anyway, so that one aside, I feel like, I don't know, it's my purist side coming out of me where it's like, we're all adults. We know not to slut shame people. Like, who are we setting an example for?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like in the environment of like a Rocky Horror shadow cast, everyone in there has most likely seen the film before, understands it's like about sexual liberation in one form or another, you know, and Janet realizing her sexuality and experiencing that and like becoming confident in that.
And it's wonderful.
Exactly. Like, why are we, I don't know, babying the audience to be like
it's like they've never said the word before.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I think I say slut like 14 times a week. You know what I mean?
Like, if we're reclaiming the word, like, let us reclaim the word. Like,
right. Let's just say slut and move on. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So the film itself survived censorship. The callbacks, not so much. Some for silly reasons, some for very good reasons.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's, I guess, the nature of the beast. I don't know why I'm complaining. I'm just, you know, a purist.
It's fine. We're just gonna keep talking about the shadow cast, the specific shadow cast that we went to that
this
no one else.
Yeah. but what I'm like, I feel like that is probably like a ripple effect across like all shadow casts. So we do need to get back to the movie. I just I can't stop. I brought up censorship and then I immediately thought of that because I can't stop. So
okay, so what is it about the movie specifically that like you appreciate or that you like what about the film draws you to it?
I think it's a lot of things. I think it is initially it was like the music and like just like the fun like quirkiness, like if nobody's noticed, I'm very campy. I like just like weird shit and I thoroughly embrace that and it's totally fine. I think the other thing, besides Tim Curry, like that's probably top tier reason why I love it so much. And how fabulous he is in like every single scene. Like, where is his Oscar? I don't know, but he needs one. The other thing is like, it really was about like the idea of like sexual liberation for me, because like I was raised like, I don't want to say like super conservatively, because I wasn't like super sheltered, but I was definitely raised in an environment where like, you know, you wait until you're married to have sex. And people say things about like young women being sexually active, and you know, your parents say it, your neighbors say it, like you overhear these things growing up. I'm sure you've had similar experiences where you're just like, you're like, oh, like I don't want to be a slut, like I don't want to have sex because I don't want to be talked about. Like people, you know, talk about, you know, this other woman or whatever. And so going to a show where like girls were like, people were half naked, like people were stripping, like, and everybody was having a good time, like nobody gave a fuck. I was like, oh, this is fantastic. And then when I joined the cast, and back to the shadow cast, but like this is a personal experience. This is a personal experience. Like I did the striptease at the beginning. There's photos of me on the internet doing this. I will not tell you where to find them, but there are photos out there. But you know, I did it, and it was just like, so it was very liberating. Like it was really fun. And you know, because it was just like, so I actually genuinely felt like very sexy doing it, even though it's like, you know, you're in like a shitty theater, you're 19 years old, you're like, you know, giving a lap dance to like somebody you do not know and you will never see again. But all in all, it was just like, it gave a confidence boost. And the movie in general, I'm sure did that for people like prior to Shadowcast and prior to any other like weird culture thing surrounding it. But you know, people who watched it for the first time in 1975 finally could have felt like represented, or you know, excited for something like new and different. Like it's still so different from like anything I've ever seen before in my life.
I was trying to think if there was like anything that's come out recently or in the past like 15 years that would be considered like similar to Rocky Horror in like what it was going for, or like what it achieved, the kind of weird cultural impact that Rocky Horror has had. If there was anything within the past 15 years that did anything similar, and I couldn't think of anything that
I can't either.
It's just kind of a diamond. I don't know how else to describe it. It's just kind of there's a plot to it. But whenever I try to describe the movie to someone who's never seen it, I'm like, there's not a plot, or there is a plot, but the plot doesn't matter.
Right.
Really. It's kind of just about the experience of watching it and the feelings that you have if you're new to it, kind of experiencing the sexual liberation with the characters for the first time, and just watching these people who are so comfortable in the characters that they're playing just have fun with it and not give a fuck. Because like the time, like, you know, watching it now, we have the luxury of 2021 like progressive ideals. Looking back on something that's would be considered tame today, I guess. But you watch it and you know that like at the time there was nothing else like it, like literally nothing else. And when it first came out, it like didn't do very well because audiences didn't know what the fuck it was, and so like nobody went to go see it. They canceled a bunch of showings. They were afraid of like how it would be received in the US. It wasn't really until some people started just playing it at midnight that it kind of slowly grew its audience, and it has been the longest running like theatrical release ever since. It's just a very special movie. And I think the reason that this episode feels so chaotic and we're all over the place and don't really have like a structure to how we're talking about it is because the movie is that way. Like,
right.
It just feels very like chaotically thrown together, but also with a lot of love put into it.
Yeah, no, I love the movie. Like I said in the beginning, I do have a tattoo dedicated to Rocky Horror. It's the lips. If you ever see the movie, which you should watch the movie if you're listening to this. It's a play on. I don't know why I'm like looking at it like to describe it. It's just like the lips from the poster, but there's polka dots in the background instead of it being solid black. So because I was Trixie, I was the stripper when the lips were singing, and I think those are actually Richard O'Brien's lips that are singing.
On the poster, it's actually a like a model. So I think it's a not Victoria's Secret model, but maybe Sports Illustrated or something. It's like a model that they got for the poster. But the lips in the opening sequence are it's Richard O'Brien singing, but it's Patricia Quinn's lips.
Oh, that's right. I was like, I know it's I knew it was one of the cast members' lips. So yeah, I guess you could say Patricia Quinn's lips on my leg forever.
Nice.
So what was your favorite song? Like, we have very different favorite songs. We have very hot takes. I might have a hot take because you're not as into my favorite song or one of my favorite
I like
songs.
your favorite song, but it's not my favorite song. I'm not gonna,
which is
I'm
like
not gonna,
basically saying
she's
you hate
preemptively making me look like the bad guy. Like I'm
it.
gonna yell at her.
But it's working.
I'm already getting pissed. No, I don't, it's hard because like they all like make me feel different way. So I don't know. Sweet Transvestite is like probably my number one. That may be cliche, but I don't know. Every time I see Tim Curry come down and like rip off his like cape, it's gives me so much joy every time. Doesn't matter what my mood was before, but if I wasn't going to be cliche, I really like Eddie, like the song about Eddie. Just because it's like so weird and like out of place.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Not the night, but the day. Yeah. Okay, like right now. But okay, actually my all-time favorite of the whole show is Rose Tint My World. Like the whole thing, start to finish.
Yep.
But because it's like a 10-minute song. But the one that really has my heart, Hot Patootie. Because like they just start the song, they're like, there's no real knowing the title. Hot Patootie is my.
We know how you feel about Meatloaf, so it doesn't come as a surprise.
Fucking love Meatloaf. You know what? This movie is all about sexual liberation, and y'all are kind of slut shaming me over being like mildly into Meatloaf. Only in Rocky Horror. I said it during the movie musical draft, and you and Katie were shook to your core, and I'm not here for it.
I could feel it though when we were doing Fight Club, so I could feel the sexual tension that you had
between me and
Meatloaf.
Meatloaf in a fat suit. I love the motorcycle just like rolled around. Like it's just so stupid. Like where's the like why is he in the deep freeze? Like why did you put him in the deep freeze with his motorcycle? Like you know what I mean? It's just so nonsensical. And then he just gets murdered at the end.
The first time
was a Nazi killing.
The first time I watched it, I was like, oh shit, like that's actually a lot of blood.
Yeah,
he just
like
straight up
done dead.
Like, murdered that man. Okay.
It was a Nazi killing.
I heard a little like tidbit about Meatloaf like becoming a part of this project. Before he was cast in the movie, he like saw a performance of Tim Curry as Frankenfurter like at some theater, and he was so like shocked by it that he like left and like ran away from the theater and then got a ticket for jaywalking. And I was like, wow.
You must be like really fucking moving if a cop is like, that man must be stopped with a ticket. Like, I don't care who he is. Like, cease and desist, sir. Oh my gosh, that's too funny. I thought like jaywalking tickets were a myth, but I guess not. Meatloaf is there
He's
to
the
testify.
first and only
jaywalking ticket because that one officer was like, he is a danger to himself.
He was so shooketh by Tim Curry's performance.
Maybe he was like so like sexually confused, like he had to run away because he was like, I don't know what I feel right now, but I'm into it and it scares me.
I guess I didn't really say how like why I'm drawn to the film.
Oh yeah, go for it.
It's the like sexual awakening thing too, because I mean,
Milo.
yes, absolutely.
Fucking knew it.
Poser. No, I mean, I think, you know, I was closeted for like 26 years of my life. And I think this movie was like a baby step forward in like me kind of accepting the queer part of me. just because of how unapologetically everybody is themselves in this movie. And like I said before, the time that it came out, I was just shocked that it did come out when it came out, you know? Because I think the culture at the time was, yes, it was like post the sexual revolution of the 60s, but was still like not represented on screen really in any meaningful way. And like specifically queer sexuality and female sexuality in any meaningful way. Like Susan Sarandon specifically in this movie, I think really resonated with me because she just kind of is wild and is like, fuck it, I want to, you know, feel good and do my thing. I hadn't seen that in a movie from that time before Rocky Horror.
And I also think like the great thing about, if I may interject, like about Susan Sarandon and Janet's character is like, she's like, you know, yeah, fuck it, I'm gonna, you know, do my thing. I want to have sex. I'm gonna have sex. Like, I'm gonna have a good time, and it's gonna be with this super hot, like ripped ab zombie man. But the thing that I think was great about it was it wasn't like made fun of. Like, you know, like there wasn't any sort of like, the whole movie is supposed to be like jovial and light and like silly and weird and like an enjoyable time, but they didn't like, there in no way was like it made a joke like her becoming like sexually awakened, because like the whole I guess theme of the movie is like giving yourself over to temptation. And so once she did, it wasn't like, haha, you stupid slut, like look at you slutting it up, like you're horrible, like nobody slut shamed her in the movie. So like, yeah, everybody was like, what the fuck, like you're sleeping with Rocky, like yeah, Frankfurter was mad and everything, but like even then he was just like, he was mad that she slept with his mans, not necessarily that she was like slutting it up, because he was getting down and dirty with her non-consensually earlier in the movie. So it was more about the personal breach of etiquette rather than like her sexual freedom is what I'm getting at. But anyway, in general, it was nice to see that like she was able to be like sexually free, and like the movie, it wasn't from a lens in the movie that was like, this is a bad thing, like where the virgin, or like the virgin survives the horror movie or whatever. Like she lives at the end, like she survives, and she, you know, doesn't end up with her, you know, Dudley fiance, who also is like, has his own sexual awakening. And I thought another weird sexual awakening for me. I thought Brad looks so fine in his makeup, in his cabaret.
Oh yeah, his legs.
Yes. Oh my God, legs for days. But like the makeup, like the boa, the corset, I was here for all of it. I was
absolutely.
Yeah, I was like, I'm really into all of this. Actually, the only time I'm into like tall, skinny men is if they're in boas and underwear, like and cabaret makeup.
When your man's comes home from work and you're like, it's time, and you just like hand him the boa.
You're like, go into the bedroom and lay something out for you, and it's a corset and like a thong.
He's like, not again.
Do the dance. Start doing like roast in my mouth. And the other thing is like, I don't know much about Barry Boswell. I'm looking him up real quick. We're really just hammering onto the internet.
Oh yeah, Barry Bostwick.
I call him Barry Boswell, and I know that's not right, but I won't stop doing it. He's allegedly a straight man. You know, he hasn't come out of the closet. He's been married to women, like he has children, etc. So we are under the assumption that he is a straight man. And yet, like, and in the 70s, you know, like as we said, like, yeah, the sexual revolution happened, but like, you know, this is still like a very like rocky like road.
Turbulence. I don't know.
Yes, it is very turbulent of him to be doing like a role like this, because you know, he ends up dancing, he ends up like making out with Tim Curry at one point, like it's all like you know, in the pool, and they're having like an orgy, and it's just like, it's all kind, and you know, even being associated with that film, like at the time, I'm sure was like an interesting like career choice to have made as like a young and up and coming actor, and like his career has not suffered because of it. He's done 1,001 roles ever since. But the fact that like even he was like, yeah, I'll do this role, and like he was like, his character like was sexually awakened, like beyond just like not being a fuddy-duddy, but like getting a blowjob by a androgynous alien, doing all this like crazy shit, dancing around in fishnets and heels, and he was doing a fantastic job. Everybody looked like they had so much fun making the movie, and that's like the other thing I love about it. That's why I love Mamma Mia. It's like
it's not a good movie, but
Horror is actually a good movie. Mamma Mia is a bad movie, but both casts look like they had a fantastic time making it.
True. I know that what's his name, Steve Martin, like auditioned for the role of Brad, because when they were making the film, the production company was like, okay, so you're gonna release it in the United States, so we need like American actors. And a lot of the stage performers like came over to be in the movie, like Tim Curry and Nell Campbell and Patricia, Quinn, and Richard O'Brien, obviously. But they were like, you need to have American actors, so like scrap all these people and like either get musicians to play the characters in the movie or whatever, and we'll give you like a ton of money to make the movie. But then Richard O'Brien and Jim Sharman were like, nah, we kind of like Tim Curry as Frankenfurter, and we like all these people, like they know the characters. Brad and Janet are like the lamest characters, I guess, so like give those to the Americans. So that's why Susan Sarandon and Barry Bostwick,
see, it's like a hard name to
Barry
remember.
Bostwick,
I don't know,
we're in the film. But a lot of American actors and comedians auditioned, including Steve Martin. And I think that would have been a very interesting choice. But he went on to play the evil dentist in Little Shop. So he had his moment
in a heartwarming musical about horror aliens.
But because they didn't cast a bunch of Americans and musicians like they had asked, they like cut their funding by like, they only had a fifth of what they originally were told they could have. So, you know how it goes, but I think they've made up for it. So it's okay.
Agreed. Because it's hard to imagine like a higher quality, like Rocky Horror, like a better set or like, better effects and like shit like that. Like that's part of like the charm is like, it's so corny. The scene where they're bringing Rocky to life. It's like, he's in a tank of water and it's turning rainbow, and then suddenly like there's no water in the tank. He just gets out and you're just like, where'd the water go?
It's just the sides of the tank are like colors now.
Exactly.
I mean, did you watch the new one, the like 2016 TV made for TV Rocky Horror? That's kind of what that was. It was higher budget, famous people doing it, and it's there was no charm to it. There was no heart, and also it was made for TV. So like the point of Rocky Horror, the sexual like freedom and liberation of it is like watered down for
the FCC
audience. It's like why would you do this? But you haven't seen it, so we don't need to talk about it too much.
They're a bunch of fuddy-duddy wet blankets. Don't want anything good or nice to be on TV.
I guess we can go through like the cast. We've gone through some of them already, but kind of talk about their performances individually.
Sure.
So we have Richard O'Brien, the guy who created everything, as Riff Raff.
I very much love that he was Riff Raff. One, because it's more than like seeing, it's like when you see like Twilight and you see Stephenie Meyer do the cameo and you're like, oh!
Yeah.
But no one tells you that's her until like you're like, by the way, like that one lady in that scene, she wrote the books. And then you watch it again, you're like,
yeah,
like,
that one lady that they had like a weird close-up on for no reason. That was her.
Yeah. She wrote the whole thing. She's the reason it exists. But it's like, but then it's like take that and multiply it by a million. because you might watch it the first time, not know who Richard O'Brien is, and then somebody later on is like, oh yeah, by the way, the guy that plays Riff Raff wrote the whole thing, and then you're like, you know. So it's fun, and it's fun that he's also like, he's a big character, but he's not the star. Like, he didn't write himself to be Frankenfurter.
You know, he wanted to be Meatloaf. Like, he wanted to be Meatloaf's character, Eddie. And I'm like,
it was better that it was Meatloaf.
Yeah.
Because, like,
I'm sorry, Richard O'Brien, you are not an Eddie.
You are not an Eddie.
No.
No. You are a Riff Raff.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought he did a great job. I agree. It was very fun to have that extended cameo, I guess.
Yeah, and he's the perfect, like, creepy guy to do it.
Yes, he looks very gaunt and alien-esque, I guess.
Yeah.
And then we have Nell Campbell, who plays Columbia.
I don't know much about Nell Campbell.
I don't either. I knew that she was a soda jerk, like near the theater that they were doing, or that they were like planning to do the show. And so like Richard O'Brien was there like getting ice cream or whatever, and like I guess Nell Campbell like danced for her patrons. And so they like asked her to do it, and then they were like, hey, do you want to be in the show? And so they basically like wrote the part of Columbia for her based off of her like tap dancing in this little soda shop.
Cute.
Yeah.
Aw. I love that. I love when shit like that happens. That's so great.
She was cute. I honestly don't know like what her backstory is like as Columbia, you know? Like was she like a creation? I don't understand.
No, I think she was sort of somebody like Brad and Janet who kind of like just met Frankenfurter, and then they were like, and he, you know, enticed her into his world, and she just stayed. You know, because like he cast her aside, like she says it, like, you cast me aside for Eddie, and then you cast him aside for this, like, you know, creature that you made and killed Eddie, obviously. So I think she was like literally a groupie that just like hung around.
Gotcha.
After, and you know, maybe hoping for like a second chance with Frankenfurter.
All right, cool. I've always wondered that. I was never like clear, really.
Yeah, they don't explain it, but I think like context clues, like when she's like yelling at him before he turns her into a statue, like that's the sort of that's really all you get.
Gotcha. And then we've got Patricia Quinn as Magenta. She's just so like weird and sexy.
I love her so much. She's like scary sexy. Like, you're like, you terrify me, but I'm into it.
Like, you're gonna hurt me, but it's okay.
But it's okay, yeah. But I'll be okay if you do. Like, I want it to happen.
I don't know how she got brought on board for the Rocky Horror Show, but I know that she was part of the original stage show and just kind of transferred into the movie.
Right.
Obviously, Tim Curry.
Fantastic. Well, 25,000 out of 10.
Yep. I honestly think it's like one of, I'm not even trying to be like hyperbolic. Like, I think it's probably one of the like best performances I've ever seen in film. Like, there's not many performances that kind of excite me as much as him as Frankenfurter, you know? I can't.
Yeah, really... no, he does a wonderful, wonderful job. Like, he was made for that role. That role was made for him. Nobody else could have done it. Nobody else can really do it again. Like, he is truly like a once in like a millennia like person, especially for the role of Frankenfurter. Frankenfurter.
I know that Mick Jagger really wanted to play Frankenfurter in the movie.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Yeah,
that would have been so weird.
It would have. I don't think the movie would have been. It wouldn't have turned into the cult classic that it is. I think it kind of would have been just like, oh, cool, yeah. Remember that movie that Mick Jagger did? It was like really weird.
Yeah, kind of like Labyrinth.
Yeah.
Yeah. Remember when David Bowie made a movie?
Yeah. So it kind of would have just been like that. It wouldn't be as special, I think, as it has turned into.
And who knows how many like changes he would have like wanted to the script or anything, because he's Mick Jagger. He doesn't want to do certain things on screen. So we will never know, which is a good thing. We'll never know what that's like.
And I know that Tim Curry, like his voice is like not his actual voice. You know what I mean? Like his accent, the accent that he's using is not his normal speaking accent. It's like a mix between like a impersonation of Queen Elizabeth, and his mom, which I thought was kind of cute. Very posh accent.
But I could also like I could not see him speaking any other way. Like part of me hopes that he just speaks like that, but yeah, that's probably not right.
Because he just like says things so weird sometimes. I'm just like,
you're like, where did you, what? How did you say that?
Oh, the guy who played Rocky. So Peter Hidwood, I believe his name is.
He honestly was, of all of them, he was probably the one that could have been replaced the easiest for me.
Well, he wasn't, I mean, none of them were like, well-known actors, but he had this was like pretty much one of like 2 films that he'd ever been in. He did this and then he went on to do one other movie and then he quit acting altogether, and now he like sells antiques in London.
Good for him.
Yeah. I don't know why I think it's so funny, but he's like part of one of the biggest cult classic films of all time as Rocky, like the titular character. And now he just sells antiques in London and just lives a quiet life. Like he's not a part of it at all. I think it's great. And he's like
sword of Damocles is hanging over his head.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pressure.
But I guess he said that he was like, I'm bad at acting and I cringe whenever I watch myself. So I'm just gonna
we all love Rocky Horror. We love Rocky.
But he's just, living a quiet life, and that's his prerogative, and I wish him all the happiness in the world.
Like, good for him. He's making hand over fist in royalties, probably.
Oh yeah.
So the antiquing thing is just literally a side hustle. Good for him. We love to see it.
Yeah. I just thought that was interesting because I was like,
that is interesting. I didn't know that.
Things about Rocky Horror and like he's never mentioned, and I'm like, but he's like the title guy.
He is the Rocky.
He is Rocky. Like, why does no one like mention him? Like, he's not part of the movie. But I guess that's why. He doesn't want to be part of the media thing, and that's fine. So I was hoping it wasn't like anything bad, like he like killed somebody, and so now like everyone acts like he doesn't exist. Like he got canceled by the rest of the cast.
We don't talk about him.
Yeah, like I was hoping it wasn't anything bad like that, but I was happy to find out it was not.
Good. I'm glad. Yeah, that would have been a dark turn. He couldn't handle the pressure of being Rocky, so he went on a killing spree.
I think that's the majority of the cast. Is there anyone I'm forgetting?
We didn't really talk about Susan Sarandon. We talked about like her just like her character being like sexually liberated. I personally love Susan Sarandon. I feel like there's a lot of Susan Sarandon haters out there though, and I'm not like putting up with that bullshit.
Like haters of her in this movie, or just haters of her in general?
I think in general.
Well, she's like a very vocal leftist. And so I think a lot of people don't like that. Well, I mean, no, I'm saying like, she's a woman, she's a vocal leftist, and there's a lot of people out there who don't like that. So maybe that's where the Susan Sarandon hate comes from. But
there will be no Susan Sarandon slander on this podcast.
She is based, and I love her. And she's amazing in this movie. But yeah. So if you were to if they were to remake Rocky Horror today, who would be your ideal cast?
I recast them all as they are, like 75 years old.
Oh no, Tim Curry as Frankenfurter now. Oh no.
Be a much darker film.
Oh, no.
Being sexually liberated at like 75 years old.
For those who don't know, Tim Curry had a stroke in 2013 and now he's in a wheelchair and can't really do much. So all of these jokes are very dark and we are terrible people.
The sword of Damocles is hanging. Oh, yeah, I would drag that dude out of his antique shop and I'd be like, you're doing Rocky again. Before I burn the antiques.
Just take out a match. Do the dance.
Yeah, I said, put on the golden underwear. Oh no. I feel like that would be like fucking elder abuse at that point. I get jailed for a hate crime. I'm trying to think of like somebody. These have to be like living people, right? Like, because they're remaking it in the present day. Okay, damn.
Robert Pattinson as Frankenfurter.
Interesting choice.
I was just throwing it out there. I don't know if that's an actual serious thing. It was literally just popped into my head. I could kind of see it though. I can
almost see him being Riff Raff more than I could see him being Frankenfurter. But like,
he would be a good Eddie, I think.
Kind of like Drew Barrymore in Scream, where she like dies in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like the same things. Like, well, Robert Pattinson's in this, then he literally dies after like one song.
Yeah.
Okay, I can see Robert
Pattinson.
I almost said Robert Downey Jr. and I was like, that's not right. Robert Pattinson as Eddie, but I would almost want him to be Riff Raff more.
Okay, that's fine. Eddie. We can make him Riff Raff, and we could do like Jack
force
Black.
him to relive his vampire days, and he's like, no.
Yeah.
And he's British, which is extra points.
I would say like Jack Black as Eddie.
Yeah, that'd be good. Jack Black as Eddie,
because he's got the like rock and roll vibe that Eddie brings. Because Eddie's like kind of bringing the like soft rock. I don't know if soft rock is right, but like the rock and roll vibes of the 50s,
like the rockabilly kind of feel.
Yeah. And I think
okay.
Jack Black could do that. And also Meatloaf played his dad in Tenacious D, so you know that connection.
But... Oh, there you go. Yeah, exactly. Like father, like son.
Yeah. I like how I asked you what your cast would be, and then I'm just throwing out.
Yeah, you're just throwing it out. No, but I'm agreeing. I would say maybe somebody like. See, now I'm torn about who should be. I feel like have you seen Pose, the show?
Pose? No. No.
Pose. Well, one of the actresses, Dominique Jackson, she plays like the bitchy, like in the first season, she's like the competition to like, because it's like, you know, the drag houses. And she plays one of like, she's the mother of the rival house, and she's like a massive bitch, but she's like fabulous and like, you know, just so over the top. I think she would be a fantastic Frankenfurter.
Oh yeah.
And now I cannot imagine anybody else being Frankenfurter if they did a remake.
All right.
I'm trying to think of who would be like a good like Brad and Janet, because they're just like so generic, but then at the end they have to be like, so they have to like mesh well like with the group at the end. Jake Gyllenhaal. No,
he's too old. I'd say maybe like what's his name? The kid from Hunger Games, PETA.
Oh, Josh Hutcherson.
Yeah.
Okay.
I could see. Oh, yeah, I could see him.
Or like Logan Lerman, because he looks. Logan Lerman looks kind of like Barry Bostwick back in the day. So one of those two.
Because they're like very like boyish and innocent looking, but I could definitely see them like
which I'm also into.
All right, we're ending the show. I'm sorry. Goodbye. I could go with either of those.
As far as
you know who else would be a good riff raff though? Daniel Radcliffe.
He would be an interesting choice. I feel like he'd be a much more animated Riff Raff though.
Yeah.
Because like Riff Raff's like he's he's like weird and quirky, but he's like kind of slow moving, and he moves like he's supposed to be kind of like Igor, you know what I mean? Like he's just kind of like,
yeah, but he gets sprightly at some points. Like he starts like growling and like, like kind of.
Yeah, but I feel like Daniel Radcliffe like literally is like a wind-up toy, and you just like set him and he like can't stop. He's like that's like my
I mean, he played a dead body in like Swiss Army Man, so I think if he can like
but
channel...
even then it was very animated dead body.
True, very true. I think he could do it, and I mean he's done the he did that whole like burlesque show thing in that show that he's in. So I think he's like, that's, I don't know, I'm just connecting that to any actor who's done a burlesque show like can be in my movie.
Fair enough. Yeah, good point.
But I mean,
actually, what's funny? Speaking of Logan Lerman as Brad, he was in Perks of Being a Wallflower, and in Perks of Being a Wallflower, they like do a Rocky Horror shadow cast, and I'm pretty sure he's Brad. His character is Brad in the shadow cast, so it's perfect. Like it's meant to be.
Well, there you go.
We'll call him up and we'll see if he's interested.
What about Janet?
Janet's tough. Janet has to be small, well, not necessarily small, but like annoying and like unassuming at first, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I would say almost somebody like Beanie
Beanie Feldstein. Yeah,
Feldstein. I was like, it's not Feinstein, it's Feldstein. I think she would be really cute.
Yeah, no, I could definitely see that. That'd be good. That'd be cute, actually. I want that.
Yeah. Because she's obviously a very big name in Hollywood right now, but like she's still got that like unassuming like, and I'm sure she's a good singer or performer, so it would work well.
And I think it'd be cool to I don't know, have a bigger person like play that role and like have them like experience the sexual awakening and confidence that we saw in the movie, I think that'd be really
now the
fun.
question is, who's Rocky? Conor McGregor.
What? No, he'd be so aggressive.
He just come out swinging.
Yeah.
And he's not an actor. I was just fucking
I mean, if we cast Daniel Radcliffe as Riff Raff, then Robert Pattinson could be Rocky.
No, oh my god.
I mean, he'd be like, that's the skin of a killer, He
would come out of the tank like depressed. Like they'd have to lift him out of the tank like that sheep in Jurassic Park. Like, bah.
We got a taste in New Moon, so
yeah. No, he's not like the Adonis type that Rocky is like intended to be, because he's supposed to be like the perfect man. But also you could like turn it on its head and cast somebody who's like not like super shredded and like water dehydrated and shit like that. Maybe that can be Mick Jagger.
Now. Okay. He finally got a shot.
Or Steve Martin.
Oh yeah.
No, Steve Martin should be the professor.
That would be good.
Yeah.
No, I think that'd be perfect, I think.
Yeah, I think he should be the professor. I also kind of want it to be like a big heartthrob in Hollywood, like Harry Styles or somebody like that, like somebody with a lot of star power who would like totally be down to do something zany like
maybe
that.
Tom Holland.
Yeah,
because he's like boyish, but could like beef up if he needs to,
But can he sing? Because I mean, everybody in the original Rocky
Horror,
he
was on Broadway, or wasn't he?
Was he really?
Yeah, like didn't he do Billy? What is it?
Billy Elliot?
Yeah, he was Billy Elliot in the movie, I think.
Oh, all right then, fair enough.
And then he did that like Singing in the Rain.
I thought that was lip syncing though.
Yeah, well, he can dance and he can
perform. Yeah. Okay. Okay, we'll do him as Rocky. Have you seen Sex Education?
Mm-mm.
Damn it. I was thinking of the actor that plays a character there. He's his name's Shuti Gatwa. He plays Eric. He is my favorite character in the show. I might have mispronounced his first name, but I think I said it right, but I'm not sure. But I think he would be a really fun Columbia, just like in the getup and the tap dancing and the sass. I think it would be a really interesting choice. I'm not sure about Magenta though. Oh wait, no, I thought of it. Hold on, I just don't know her name. Oh, woe is me. My life is a misery. Oh, why can't you see that I am the star of a burning... Mae Whitman. She was she was in Scott Pilgrim versus the World, and she was the one of the exes. She was the girl.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I can see her being Magenta. Or like Bella Thorne. Somebody like that. Somebody weird.
Well, that's it. We have our cast then.
Darn right. Can't take any of them back. But if I really had my way, I would just make the original cast do it again.
Yeah. It'd be a much darker film, but we'd watch it anyway.
Sha-la-la-la, that ain't no crime.
All right. I guess we could start wrapping it up. Do you have anything else you want to talk about in regards to Rocky Horror? Any last thoughts?
No. It's an all-around great film. I feel like no matter how much we prepared for this episode, it would have turned to like chaos anyway. There's so much to say and it comes in all different directions. So no, but I'm glad we finally got to talk about it.
Yeah, me too. And
yay!
Yeah, I don't have anything else to say. Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.
No, I'm happy we got to talk about it. I'm happy that it was kind of a mess because I don't know how you organize an episode about Rocky Horror. But we kind of just talked about things as it came up. So
yeah.
Cool. And we're back at it. We're back. We are still live, and
we are maybe better than ever. We're not sure yet. To be determined. Jury's still out on that.
We appreciate all of our new listeners. We've gained a little bit of a new following since we've taken our break, so that's really cool.
Tell your friends.
Yeah.
Tell Tim Curry.
He listens. He already listens, so
I would love that if he did. I would be receiving a restraining order in the mail though pretty soon.
Stop calling me on your burner phones. Anyways, all right, so we're gonna wrap this up. Madalyne, I love you. I'm excited to get back into these movie reviews.
I love you too. Can't wait for the next one.
All right. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Oh, woe was me.